In 1987, a woman named Barbara Mitchell bought a Speed Queen washing machine for her small laundromat in Ohio. She wrote to us last month to report that 37 years later, that machine is still in daily commercial use. It has washed tens of thousands of loads with only routine belt replacements. Now, compare that to the experience of a modern consumer. You walk into Home Depot today and you buy a $900 Samsung front loader with a digital display and steam cycles. It looks sleek, it promises efficiency, but statistically, that machine will be dead before your car needs new tires. And when it dies, the technician will shake his head and tell you replacement costs more than buying new. Why have we gone from an era where washing machines outlived mortgages to an era where they barely outlast the warranty? In this investigation, we are going to expose the repair conspiracy buried inside your laundry room. We are going to examine the sealed bearing scam, the control board racket, and the plastic transmission fraud that has turned your washing machine into a disposable appliance designed to fail. The first villain on our list is the sealed bearing disaster. For decades, washing machines used a simple, repairable design. The inner drum sat on a metal shaft supported by two ball bearings. These bearings absorbed the punishment of thousands of spin cycles. They eventually wore out from metal fatigue. That was expected. But on an old machine like that, 1987 Speed Queen, you could remove 6 bolts, pull the drum assembly apart, press out the old bearings with a simple tool, and install new ones for about $30. A competent DIYer could do it in an afternoon. A repair shop charge maybe $150 including labour. You got another decade of service from a machine you already trusted. But in the early 2000s, manufacturers like Samsung, LG and Whirlpool made a calculated engineering decision. They started using a process called ultrasonic welding to permanently seal the outer tub. They molded the bearings directly into the plastic housing. The bearings became inaccessible. When they fail, and they will fail because bearings are wear items designed to wear out, you cannot replace just the $30 bearing. You have to replace the entire tub assembly. That assembly includes the outer tub, the spider arm, the bearings, the seals, and half the structural components of the machine. The part costs between $400 and $600. The labour to install it runs another $200 to $300 because the technician has to disassemble the entire machine down to the frame. Suddenly, you are looking at an $800 repair bill on a machine you bought for $900. The technician looks at you and delivers the line that defines the modern appliance economy. It's not worth fixing. This is not an accident. This is a design choice. They intentionally removed your ability to service the single most predictable wear component in the machine. But even if you somehow afford that repair, there is a second engineering crime lurking inside your modern washer: the control board. Your grandmother's washing machine had a mechanical timer. It was a motorized cam system with physical contacts that opened and closed circuits to control the wash cycles. It clicked as it advanced. It was loud, but it was also virtually indestructible. If the timer failed after 15 years, you bought a replacement for $40, unplugged the old one, plugged in the new one, and you were done. It required no computer diagnostics, no software, no calibration. Your modern washing machine has a printed circuit board with delicate microprocessors, surface mount capacitors, and solder joints smaller than a grain of rice. And where do manufacturers mount this temperature-sensitive computer? Directly above the motor and heating element in a humid, vibrating environment. The thermal cycling causes the solder to crack. The vibration loosens connections, the humidity corrodes traces on the board. The machine becomes a will not drain. The machine becomes a useless box holding your wet laundry hostage. The replacement control board costs $250 to $400. But here is the real scam. Many of these boards are no longer manufactured after just 7 or 8 years. The parts supply dries up. You cannot fix a 10-year-old machine because the board is obsolete. They have put a computer in a box designed to shake violently and fill with steam, and then they stopped making replacement parts before the machine's reasonable lifespan ends. We have spoken to dozens of appliance technicians who say the same thing. The control board is engineered to fail in a hostile environment the manufacturer created. The same engineering betrayal applies to the direct drive motor system that manufacturers market as an upgrade. In the old days, washing machines used a belt drive system. An electric motor sat at the bottom of the machine. A rubber belt connected the motor to a pulley on the transmission. When the belt wore out after years of use, you spent $15 and replaced it in 20 minutes. It was the most common repair. Belts are sacrificial components. They are designed to wear out so the motor does not. But modern manufacturers convinced consumers that direct drive was superior technology. They removed the belt and coupled the motor directly to the drum using an internal transmission. They marketed this as quieter, more efficient, and more reliable. What they did not tell you is that the direct drive system puts all the mechanical stress directly on the motor and transmission. There is no belt to absorb shock or act as a safety fuse. When something goes wrong, a sock jams the pump, the load gets unbalanced, a bearing seizes. That shock transfers straight into the motor windings and the transmission gears. The motor burns out, the transmission cracks. And because the motor is now a proprietary, machine-specific unit, married to a custom transmission, the replacement cost is $400 to $600. On a belt drive machine, that same failure would have snapped a $15 belt and left everything else intact. They removed the cheap replaceable wear component and turned every minor failure into a catastrophic machine-totaling event. But the most insulting crime happens in the dryer. If you bought a dryer in 1995, it had steel rollers, metal drum supports, and a mechanical timer with a simple bimetal thermostat for temperature control. When the timer wore out, you replaced it for $35. When a roller squeaked, you bought a $12 kit and swapped it out. The heating element was a coiled wire you could see and replace. That dryer ran for 20 years because every single component was designed to be serviced. Today, manufacturers like Whirlpool and GE use moisture sensors, electronic control boards, and proprietary thermistors that communicate with the main computer. When the moisture sensor fails, your clothes come out damp even after an hour. The board cannot be repaired. It must be replaced. The part costs $180. But here is the deeper scam. These sensors fail because they corrode from lint and detergent residue. The manufacturers know this. They designed a component that sits in a hostile environment and degrades by design. And because the dryer will not operate correctly without the sensor, you're forced into a repair that costs half the price of a new machine. Repair technicians across the country tell us the same story. Modern dryers are built with planned failure points that arrive right after the warranty expires. The same philosophy infects the modern dishwasher. If you owned a dishwasher in 1990, it was loud. It sounded like an industrial pump. But that noise was the sound of a powerful motor with a hard food disposer built into the sump. It ground up leftover food and flushed it down the drain. The machine ran a full cycle in 45 minutes. The dishes came out hot, dry, and sterile. You did not have to pre-rinse. You scraped the plate into the trash and loaded it. But due to Department of Energy, Water and Energy regulations implemented in the 2000s, modern dishwashers are required to use less water and less electricity. To meet those standards, manufacturers installed weak, underpowered pumps. The pumps cannot generate enough pressure to clean effectively, so the machine compensates by running the cycle for 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours. And because the pump is too weak to handle food waste, they removed the disposal unit entirely. Instead, they installed a filter basket at the bottom of the tub. You have to pull it out every few weeks and manually clean the slimy, decomposing food scraps by hand. They charge you $700 for a machine that takes 3 times longer, cleans worse, and makes you do the dirty work yourself. So what is the solution? If you can afford it, buy a commercial-grade machine. Speed Queen still manufactures washers and dryers in Wisconsin with metal gears, replaceable bearings, and no control boards. They cost $1,400 to $2,000. That is a steep price, but they come with a 10-year warranty and an expected lifespan of 25 years. You will replace 3 Samsung washers in the time one Speed Queen is still running. But not everyone has $2,000 to spend on a washer. The alternative is to reject the smart appliance trap entirely. When you shop for a washing machine, look for the cheapest, dumbest model on the floor. Look for the one without the Wi-Fi connectivity, without the steam cycles, without the touchscreen. Find the model with physical knobs and the fewest electronic features. The fewer features it has, the fewer things can break. Or do what the smart money does. Keep your old machine alive. If you have a washer or dryer from the 1990s or early 2000s, keep it running. Pay for the repairs. A $200 repair on a 20-year-old Maytag is a better investment than an $800 Samsung that will be junk in 6 years. Do not be seduced by the stainless steel drum and the LED display. Those are just cosmetic features. They are lipstick on a pig. What you are actually buying is a disposable appliance with a motherboard, and just like a smartphone, the manufacturer expects you to replace it every few years when the software or the parts supply becomes obsolete. Stop buying their planned failure junk. If you want to see which other household products have been destroyed by the same corporate strategy, watch this investigation next.